So I wanted to talk about something today that I see a lot in fitness marketing and personal trainer marketing that I don't really feel like gets talked about very often, and that is trainers touching their clients. Now, I actually started recording this as a 1-minute video for Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, and then I looked at my phone and I was about 3 minutes into talking about this because it is something I've wanted to talk about for a long time. I've just been trying to find the right words and the right balance to actually say it. As always, I do find I'm better with this long form content where I can really dive into a subject. So if you're watching this, please help me support these videos. Let me know that I'm making the right choice by making longer videos rather than trying to cram everything into a minute. So when you look at a gym's website or a personal trainer's Instagram account, and there are images of them conducting personal training, you'll often see that they have their hands on a client while they're doing a set. And if you're new to the fitness environment or you've never had a PT, you might be wondering why they do that. It might even be something that puts you off of getting personal training, which is completely understandable. Not everyone likes to be touched all the time. Not everyone likes to have someone in their personal space all of the time. So touch cueing, as it's referred to, is a way of using physical feedback to guide a client into a certain position or to help guide their intention in where they should be contracting to get a muscle to work or to feel an exercise in the right way. Some exercises use more than one muscle group, more than one joint, so it's easy to start kind of generating movement from a muscle group or an area that may not be the target of the exercise. Now, how much this actually influences the value of a personal training session, I'm not actually sure. Maybe a personal trainer that works more with bodybuilding clients where mind and muscle connection might be more important, might be more valuable. Outside of that, I'm not really sure how important it is, and that's not my main kind of clientele. So that's why it's less important to me. However, what I will say is that I currently work in a personal training studio with hundreds of other freelance PTs. And while I'm doing a PT session, there might be as many as 12, 13 other PT sessions going on around me. And over the course of a week, I see hundreds of other PT sessions going on around me. And I will say that on a real life day-to-day basis, the number of PTs that are often, having hands on their clients all the time is quite rare. So if that's something that's putting you off of getting a PT, then don't let that put you off. And if you are someone that's thinking about getting a PT, you can always say to that personal trainer, I don't really like to be touched. I don't really like the whole thing of touch cueing, if that is something that puts you off. And ask that trainer whether that's a deal breaker for them. It's not really for me to judge other personal trainers and how they do their business, but I will say that if a personal trainer insists on being able to touch you, and that is a key part of their job, that they can't function without touching you, I would worry that some of their verbal communication skills or some of just their abilities as a coach, personally, I would be a little bit concerned about that. But I don't know everything. I don't know every style of personal training. I could be wrong about that. That's just my personal feeling. So if that's the case, if it is quite rare and it's not essential, you might be wondering why you see it so much in marketing. And that's because what a personal trainer does on a day-to-day basis is, they'll sit back, they'll watch your set, and a lot of the really good coaches, in my opinion, the good coaches are good at shutting up and letting you get on with a set and, kind of solve problems for yourself and explore that movement a little bit on your own. Sometimes when it comes to coaching, less is more. Problem with that is it's very hard to market a coach standing to one side, being quiet and just watching you do a set. It doesn't look very active. It's not as much of a performance, and it makes the whole workout look a little bit less intense. And as we know, fitness is generally marketed on intensity. We want everything to look like it's going to be the hardest workout you've ever done. Every set is harder than the set you did before, and it's marketed in that way that I think is, not necessarily truly reflective of a good workout. Marketing would have you believe that a personal trainer is constantly kind of in your face, shouting at you, trying to get you one more rep. Meanwhile, they're touching every part of your body, making sure that you're feeling it in the right place. And that's just not what my experience of personal training over 15 years is. I personally will very rarely, very occasionally use my hands to maybe guide someone to relax their shoulders down if they can't physically get their shoulders to drop. That's about the most I ever need to do with anyone. Good coach can communicate verbally and find the right verbal cue or the right analogy to guide you to do what you need to do. Even if you do need to touch someone to cue them to do a certain movement, you typically only need to do it once or twice, and then people can feel that movement and do it themselves. Or at least that's my experience, like I say, over 15 years as a coach. So number one, PTs touching their clients is not as common as you may have been led to believe, and don't let that put you off from initiating a conversation with a personal trainer where you find out what their preferences are. Number two, it's not essential for a personal trainer to do that in most cases, and you shouldn't feel like it's something you have to put up with if you're uncomfortable with it. Number three, if someone is going to touch you, to coach you, to guide you into position, they should definitely be asking for your permission first and telling you about it before they do it. The gym is obviously a bit of a unique place with its own culture and its own rules, but no one should be touching you and invading your personal space without you first giving your permission to do so. Don't feel like you're the awkward person or the weird person if that is a boundary that you want to enforce. And number four, let's come away from this idea that all fitness needs to be super intense, super hardcore all the time. You can still get great results if your trainer is a bit more minimalist and sits back a little bit and shuts up and lets you do that set. That is still totally valid personal training.
So while editing this video, I realized there was one part of the conversation that I forgot to add in. So I've mentioned that I find it frustrating that fitness marketing really emphasizes touch cueing as a way of making personal training seem very active and really performative when it can be something quite minimalist. But what also annoys me is when personal trainers lean into this themselves by using touch cueing in a really lazy way, where you'll be performing an exercise like a lateral raise, leg press, or a lat pull down, and they just kind of hover behind you with their hands just sitting on you. They're not really doing anything. They're not really doing anything that active with it. They're just kind of standing there with their hands on you, basically. And I don't feel like it portrays touch cueing in the best light either, because it makes it seem kind of pointless. That may seem quite hypocritical, given that I'm saying personal training can be minimalist and doesn't need to be a big performance all the time. But you just have to ask yourself how much you're getting from it if someone has just left their hand sitting on your body and they're not really doing anything with it.
So that's my rant over. That's something that does always frustrate me in fitness marketing. Hopefully, that's something that we can start to break down and come away from. What's your experience of that? Do you like to have your trainer touch cue you in a session, or is that something that you find a little bit awkward and a little bit gross? Let me know in the comments. Please like and share this video with your friends who are maybe a little bit wary about getting into fitness for that reason. And subscribe if you haven't already. I might have already said that, I'm not sure. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.